Welcome to GlideChat, where we give you the rundown of all things ServiceNow. Let's talk about the now, right now.
Welcome to another episode of GlideChat. I'm Mike Lombardo, CEO of GlideFast, and I'm with Beau Bramlet, the principal architect at Northwestern Mutual. How are you, Beau?
Good. How are you?
Man, it's been an interesting start to the year, I feel like, with the economy and, ServiceNow rolling out new features. It's just, it's really, really been an exciting Q1. Could you maybe give us a little bit of your background?
So I've been in IT pretty much since senior year in high school. And obviously you can tell I'm a seasoned professional. So that was before Al Gore invented the internet. And from that, just always been involved in technology at that time, right? It was, if you can build a web page, you're a genius, right? So just always been involved in that. And then that moved me into server stuff and database, and then building software applications, then going into storage and just networking, DevOps, you name it, project management for a while, PMP stuff, all of that, and just been involved in all that technology. And with it kind of rose to the ServiceNow platform, where now it's like, you don't need to worry about the technology, just focus on your business outcomes you're trying to accomplish, the workflows, what you're trying to do, and code that in the tool. And now with, some of the newer versions of the platform, all of that just gets realized automatically, if you will, which is really cool.
It's crazy how fast ServiceNow changes. And for like GlideFast, who's like a ServiceNow partner, right, at the forefront of digital transformation, like we can never get comfortable. We always have to stay on our toes with, the new releases. And it's not just like a new release where they're upgrading stuff. They're rolling out new products, and it can be almost a little exhausting if you're not on your game,
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, we've talked about this before, but the kind of the sawtooth or square wave of deploying technologies, once you kind of get a view of all of them, you start to see, well, the real magic is in making it a smooth, seamless thing. And the example we used is when you're sitting at table, if IT really works, imagine IT is your dinner place at a nice restaurant. And while you're eating, a newer, better version, an AI-oriented fork comes out that is more ergonomic, counts your calories, whatever, got accelerometers on it. And while you're eating, you go to grab a glass of water and they replace that fork with this. You pick it up, go ahead and keep eating. That's how technology should be ran. Very smooth. And that should apply to all of the services that you have. And so that's one of the things I love about the ServiceNow platform, because it gets you to focus on just what are you trying to do? Whether it's in Lucidchart or Visio, now those can go away in my mind. And now you just encode everything in the workflow tools and you get the results you're looking for.
100%. We shouldn't need this huge initiative to train you how to use a fork. It should be seamless, right? While you're drinking that glass of water, like, oh wow, okay, this is better.
I'm guilty of this too, because we all techie nerds, like we like shiny stuff, so we just want to get right into the tools and to log in and start playing with it. And there's a healthy balance of doing that, but that's more on the R&D side of things. But when it comes to making the rubber meet the road, right? You've got to. You can use another analogy. Your car's driving down the road, and then a crane comes up as it's going, lifts it up, changes the tires, puts it back down. That is what we should be striving for.
I love that.
Pretty exciting the way the platform is, because every app is a UI, some back-end data, there's some middle, there's all that kind of stuff going on, workflows, business rules, and you just put all that into the tool. So you don't need to worry about full stack development and databases and all that. You just, here we go. I've got everything I need to get my stuff working for my business. So it's pretty cool.
Exactly. And like on the same note, everybody's talking about Gen AI in ServiceNow, especially, right? Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's excited. I think it's important. I know we were talking a little bit about this earlier. Like how important is it to get your system ready for that? Because I think a lot of people just think, hey, we're just going to turn it on. It's going to do all those things, which there's tremendous amount of benefit. But from your experience, like what do you think are some of the items that like a typical ServiceNow customer has to be ready for with Gen AI?
Yeah, all of them need to be ready for having their data at really good quality. So what we put in early on, we started with the CMDB, was we called it DQM, Data Quality Management. And what that was is every CI class or every single data set or table has an owner. It has a life cycle to it. It has metrics. It has a way to know if it's good or bad, right? And that turns into data certification efforts. So now all the spinning plates of data out there, we have the right people that own it, versus how it normally is at a company where you're playing catch up to go, is your data good? What do we need here? No, empower the people that own the data and let them rise to the occasion. But now when you get a dashboard that shows a heat map of red, amber, green for this group hasn't done their data certification, leadership cracks on that, and all of a sudden everyone's, they get their data in. Nobody wants to be in the red zone on their data. So once you empower that and get it going, now your data is of good quality. Now you're aligned to the common service data model. So now what you're talking about, AI can just do amazing things. It can turn on a dime and do things because you've got, right, you don't have yen and pesos and US dollars of data. You have one common, AI currency that can actually grab and use and do amazing things. So I think a lot of organizations are going to have a challenge. They've overlooked that stuff and they haven't really done it. And then now they're trying to turn on AI and go, why is it not working? Well, you got to hold on, Trixie, take a step back and let's get the foundational layers in place. And then that stuff will just, go crazy.
Yeah. And you mentioned one thing that I think another, group of customers sometimes overlook is that accountability at the leadership level, because we know people, right? If there's not a governing body that's saying, here's what we expect you to own. Because when you talking about your CMDB ownership and owning the different classes, I can't tell you how many customers just flat out just don't have that, right? And the ones who do, if they don't have the leadership, that's not micromanaging, not breathing down their neck, because there's automated ways to do this with data certification, other levers, right? But to have leadership say, here's what we are going to make sure our CMDB is best in class, is top notch. Totally. And this is what we're expecting you to do. And if you don't, there's repercussions. Just that direction from the leadership level takes you light years ahead, right? Totally. And I can't tell you how many challenges we run into on implementations, not just obviously in CMDB, but overall. Totally. We're moving to ServiceNow. This is what we're doing. We're not taking the old process we had before and just putting it in here. We're transforming. Anytime we have executive leadership involved in that, and we're not customizing, we're not over-engineering, it's like the most successful projects we've ever had.
No, totally. Yeah. And remember, so with me working at Northwestern Mutual, we've been around 170 years, right? We got 5 generations of people. So you would think it would be like, the old, Mad Men kind of thing. No. We're even though we're 170 years old, we're in a lot of ways like a functioning startup. So when we first put the CMDB in, which is what I got hired to do, is get the CMDB and the platform level stuff going. It was a while till people started to realize, right? So leadership is like, all right, do your thing, but we'll skeptic prove it, right? So once we started showing the value of that and then partnering with leadership on that and getting these dashboards set up. So we have a really strong data sciences and performance analytics team in my group. And then with that, all of a sudden it was like, okay. And then once we were able to prove that, right, you got to, show me that you can do this. We did it. Then all of a sudden it became a business outcome for the org. And all of a sudden it was exponentially just amazing quality of data. Now we still have hurdles like every company does, but at least we have one kind of methodology to do it, make it a lot easier versus everyone just reinventing the wheel out there as these data sets.
No, that's amazing. And, while we were talking earlier, talked a little bit about the Hack for Good initiative that Northwestern Mutual runs. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's still molten, but it's a very exciting. Childhood cancer is huge. I know a lot of people even working on the project are cancer survivors. I think, if I recall, I think you are as well. Yep. And this was a Hack for Good where it's the hack where if it gets picked and wins, it gets funded. So we're in that process right now. But this one is to provide a solution on the ServiceNow platform that will deliver for parents and families that are victims of childhood cancer, give them a way where they can get connected to the right services, kind of give them a way to find a path to the right information versus a 3 a.m. freaking out, finding out, right, that their kid has cancer and they're Googling from their phone in the emergency room, like what, and they don't know where to go. So the effort that we proposed was to allow, and some of the things we talked about, data certification, let these providers put their stuff in, let them own the data versus playing catch up. And now patients and their families can get the information they want. And of course, there's a lot of great features in there that we've kind of pre-baked in, future-proofed, that we can enable as time goes on. But that's just getting going. And the timing of it is really awesome too, because ServiceNow is launching their .org, right? So it's so you've got the regular Fortune, 1,000 companies that and below that are using the platform. And so that can be a barrier to entry to some nonprofits. So they're addressing that. One thing I wish ServiceNow would do is what I call startup, which is why can't ServiceNow do the same thing, but for small businesses? Why is there such a big barrier to entry to that? If you can give personal developer instances, give this business a powered by, right? And then be with them all the way till they become a Fortune 100. I think that would be awesome too. So .org seems like it's going to be a pretty big deal for.
It's definitely a step in the right direction. And, it's just amazing because I'm on a board of a nonprofit that supports cancer patients financially, Joe and Druzy Foundation. That foundation and, being involved with ServiceNow.org has really exposed me to like so much of the good that like is happening out there in the world and how much people care about others and just, donating time and effort and just general help for those who need it. Right. And so it's pretty cool to be a part of it. And I really sincerely like wanted to thank you because you were like, I think one of the first times we spoke was about Alex Lemonade Stand. Right. And you were just so passionate. It felt like we are helping this organization. Like this is what we're doing. So I really want to thank you for just caring, like, and it's cool to be a part of it. And I look forward to seeing that successful.
Well, and I wouldn't take the credit for it. It's like, how can you not be excited or passionate about something like that? Right. And especially with all of us, right. We have all these great skills and like, early on in IT, you might be like, oh, can you fix grandpa's laptop? And it was like, oh gosh, but now it's like, well, we have those great skills, but there's everyone's using technology now. There's a lot of things we could fix in our spare time.
Oh, and
one of the things we realized at our org is that everyone has like a certain amount of volunteer time and they have their projects that they pick for that. And then they can build to it much like your PTO. Well, there's an army, a sea of people that know ServiceNow and orgs have those volunteer hours. It'd be awesome to have all of them be able to work on some of these projects collectively, donate their time. There's some intellectual property things, but the good news about ServiceNow's platform is there's ways to abstract that. So no one has to worry about what they're working on.
Yeah. I haven't seen a lot of organizations, and I'm sure they do, just I haven't been exposed to it, but Northwestern Mutual is one of the first I've seen really like have a program where they're donating, to other organizations in time and effort. And, I'm sure a lot of people have those initiatives, but first time I've been involved with it. So it's cool.
Yeah.
What do you think makes ServiceNow so special? I know I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm like, a little bit of bias because I'm obsessed with ServiceNow. I have been for, 13 years, but like what doesn't seem to be any real competitors or platforms that are even close to it. Like what separates ServiceNow from those other platforms that are out there?
Well, so you've got the biased view, if you will, from being with ServiceNow specifically in your career, and then me indirectly on the side for the last 10 years, but the last 8, like really directly involved. But because of seeing storage and, virtualization and DevOps and being involved in those at a deep level and seeing that it's all the same, to answer your question, what I see the value is ServiceNow gets rid of all of that worry or gets rid of all of those things. And you think, oh, you could pay for anything. No, it's you get the platform and you basically can take and create whatever you want. They have out-of-the-box tools, etc. But once you start to look at that, and let's not forget that AI is nipping at a lot of people's heels. Well, if you raise those layers of abstraction up and up and up, you get to, the business outcomes that the company wants are X, Y, and Z. Here's the product manager or team that's doing it. Here's the process flows. And then instead of putting it in Lucidchart or Visio, you put it in the platform and it does all the rest for you. Now, that's obviously oversimplified for a lot of use cases, but in general, that's what it is. So to me, what's powerful about it is instead of making a niche tool for for sales, and I won't name names, but for sales or another tool for that, it's like, why don't we just make a tool that's generic and can handle all of it? Well, what better way to test it than starting out as and I know it wasn't by design, but in hindsight, that was actually a genius move.
It was genius. He didn't want to do it. He didn't want it to be IT, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, we got the first thing is the IT service management. Well, there's a lot of volatility and entropy in just that. So that proves out that, this can be done. And I think that call to action is what made the design what it is and so much more open because it was forced with, change and problem and all these things coming in at all these different angles. And now you just think, well, you know what, if we reskin this can be this and this. Exactly. And so they focused really hard on getting, like we were talking about earlier, data certification. All right, there's a facility to certify data, configure it, turn it loose. Oh, here's a facility for presenting information. Oh, and guess what? 80% of it is on mobile just by the fact that you've pushed it. Oh, so now you can spend less time. So you just add all these wins together. And it's like, why would anybody use something else? Why would somebody start from scratch doing full stack? And there's use cases for that. I'm not, a
Yeah, of
total
course.
snob, but the more I see it, I'm like, this is workflow driven. That's where the future's going.
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah,
rapid development and deployment of those
yeah,
solutions, right? As you're saying this, I never really thought of it, but it's like it's all in the same building. Like if you think about an office building, it's like, okay, this floor's for data certification,
yeah,
this room's for change management. It's like all in the same building. So we're leveraging, the common data model, right? We
yeah,
have one group of users that every single process can leverage. We don't have to update it or integrate it to other
yeah,
systems, locations, departments. I mean, that was like years ago. That was before that was just the core platform,
yeah,
right? And now we've just added, there was never, they've made some acquisitions, but they've all re-platformed those to
yeah.
actually be
Not
in platform.
it's not a Frankenstein bolt-on of thing.
No, which
And,
every other competitor
oh,
in the
I've seen it.
past has been that.
And I've been involved with those tools, and they were like, "Oh, it looks cool," but then you realize, okay, there's just bubble gum and Band-Aid holding it
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
and
As
it's
soon as
inefficient.
it might demo, but in reality,
Yeah,
it's not going to
yeah,
scale. So that, yeah,
yeah,
I totally agree. And it's just so cool to like see how you can just come up with an idea or solve a problem. Like, I think this is I'm in need for immediate gratification. Like, I have never been the guy that can spend 6 months building something. Like, I need it like this week. I need,
yeah,
when I was consulting, like to get the satisfaction from a customer, like in appreciation immediately, nothing better than that.
yeah, totally.
That's why I could never I don't know if I could ever be a product, be in the product world because it takes so long to
Such a
get there.
long tail.
Services, you're just like, it's go, go, go.
Yeah, totally.
We talked a little bit about the hybrid delegated model, as you
Yeah,
called it, which
yeah.
which I think is really important because a lot of customers, especially newer ones in the ServiceNow world, struggle. Do I build my own team? Do I outsource it? And I think the way you were describing it was great. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So for us, what we knew from being on the infrastructure side is that the business has demands or areas have demands that we just won't be able to get approval for bringing in people. So that warrants like a big project. You'll get a SOW. You'll work with that provider. What we found over the time of working with almost all those providers is that they have so many profit centers and they're just all over the place that ServiceNow is something they can offer, but they're not as good at it as someone who is literally that's all they do. Right.
Yeah,
So the proof's in the pudding. If your main source of revenue and success comes from ServiceNow and you're still in business, then you're awesome. But
yeah,
those other companies, the bigger ones, can just say they are, and no one even knows how bad or good they are at it. So we realized as well we couldn't hire people to keep up with the demands. So we decided, well, let's get a core team of architects, engineers, and release people, and get that structure set up so it's scalable and scalable by if we need more people, we can engage not through a big giant SOW that's like this huge thing to Herculean effort to start up, but where we have an extension of our build team and our architecture team where we can just tap them in. And when a cost center says they want to go, there you go, boom.
yep,
And then now the people coming in, we're not like, oh, we need our own instance developed. No, they're part of our team. They actually are like our employees. And the other options are we kind of talked about is you go through the revolving door of people like headhunters and things like that. And we found we were spending 15% of our time just trying to vet out candidates because everyone says they're a ServiceNow developer, but can they actually design things? Are they a whack-a-mole developer where they
yeah.
just like, yeah, give me something, I can do it? Or can they sit back and go, oh, you know what? That's going to really slow down the
Configure.
platform. Or
Yeah,
that's not really good. Or that's not how ITIL would do it. Or,
yep,
and so with that, we were having a lot of time vetting people. And almost everyone that we pulled in, we don't know how to not partner for success with that provider. So we
yeah,
get people, even if they're just a headhunter for contingent labor resource, where we
yeah,
train and invest them, and then we're like, can we keep them, please?
yeah,
Because now they're a viable person. Well,
yep,
with working with you guys, it's great to just get level 2 people that know their stuff, have been in the
yeah,
industry, and they appreciate our model because they're like, oh, I don't have to worry about release. That's a team. Perfect. Oh, let's get in and go solve some problems. So it's more efficient versus having all these teams doing the exact same duplicate work.
yeah,
And in cost cautious times, that's where we go, oh, let's figure out, well, if everyone's needs release stuff, let's make a service for release. Let's make it an appliance that's bulletproof, right?
exactly.
Developers, what's the framework, and then we focus on culture stuff too when we bring in a developer, so they're very clear, here's your checklist of things. We don't want to do crappy work. Quality is first, and then when we bring on someone, they're like, yeah, this is awesome, and they can get a lot more done. So that delegated hybrid model not citizen development. Most companies aren't
No.
ready for that. We're not either.
No. No.
And maybe the future of the platform, there's some granular security stuff that would be needed. But today, we're being able to get a lot of stuff done really quickly in this delegated model. So
yeah, I love that, because people think it's binary. Like I either have to build my team or I'm going to go to a partner. You need both. You need experts in house that can that understand the basics of the architecture of the system and where the bad practices are, and like almost like jacks of all trades kind of thing. But these products go so far deep and are so wide, right? You got best or worst of both worlds, right? Where you need certain experts, and like at GlideFast, it's like we have different teams that focus just on different areas of the platform. I've said it now for a long time, because in the beginning, I thought I was a little cocky developer. I'm like, I'm going to be an expert in the entire platform. Whatever.
Good luck.
Man, yeah, good luck. Show me one person. Like this is a challenge to the world. Show us one person who's an expert in the entire platform. And I mean, I don't know. We'll give him $1 million, because I don't think that person exists. I just don't.
Well, and that brings up something that I tell my team all the time. That kind of resonated with me is, Big Bang Theory, right? Sheldon.
Yeah.
If you're older, you'll remember Doogie Howser, right? Like, how does somebody go get in college when they're in high school? Like, what the heck? I could barely get to the class on time, right? And we think that there's like all of those people out there. So like you were saying in your example, that there's like this one person who knows it all, right? With their head is probably this big, ego and just the brain mass to be able to do that. And you go through life with leaders in politics, everything. Everyone is like at that level, and then you get there and you're like, oh wow, we're all the same level. It's the people at the jock table and the social table and this and that and the emo, and we're the ones that are doing all this stuff. And once you realize that, it's kind of empowering, because you're like, oh, it is up to us. We need to carry the torch. We need to do this stuff. And then once you realize that, now all of a sudden you see the value of everyone on your team. They're all the same. They just have a little bit of focus over here, right? So now my job is more programming people and processes to get them to be able to, be the better versions of themselves, right? Not be a referee, but be a coach. Get the bad news bears to the Major League Baseball games, right? So from that, back to your thing, it's like, we have leadership that would at first go, we need someone who's like, and I'm like, there is no one person. You need to have a methodology where all of that innovative ideation demand can come in, and it just goes in a continuous fashion and leverage the people that have the skills in certain areas. So we're actually retooling again our subject matter expertise domains, because before we had one of our data scientists, she was awesome. She was getting more into the CMDB. Well, now she's like the expert on CMDB and data. So now she's going to be more the common service data model, data governance person, and just all these little areas. So we're almost kind of mapping what needs to go on behind the platform, if you will. Like, who does process flow stuff? Okay, we need some business process analysis people. We need this, right? So from that, there is no one person. And there's so many. We have 14 products. I mean, we have CMDB, we have a very small team, but we have CMDB, we have ITOM software and hardware, we have APM, we have SPM, ITBM, we have HR service delivery. We have, God, there's so many now. We have IRM GRC and the VRM stuff that you guys are working on right now. Like, there's just so many of them. So now we're trying to get to, okay, well, we're a restaurant. So think of it as a shopping mall. I'm a shopping mall. I own the platform. I own the mall. And I want everyone to have their little sunglasses huts and their pizza places.
The food court has different restaurants.
Food court, right? So we'll take care of security, trash, governance. We'll make sure all that. The parking lots are clean. We got all that.
Checks and balances.
And when a product person comes in and they want to open their new dream vision, well, we help them get them onboarded, get them set up, show them the training, take these classes at ServiceNow through the Impact program, on and on and on, and get them to be a viable part of the store, right? And then with it, you got your idea or your business outcome you want to do, come into our safe environment, and we'll make sure you're successful. And that's where we like, okay, no one can know all that stuff. Let's just build it where everyone can be successful and thrive based on their domain expertise. And that's been working for us.
You are a fantastic leader. Really, thank you. Thank you so much for being on the GlideChat, and really looking forward to continuing this partnership. And thank you for trusting and giving GlideFast a chance.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Mike.
Do you have a topic in mind that you'd like to discuss? Reach out to us at glidefast.com and subscribe to our podcast for new episodes. Thanks for listening.